Furnace Flat was excavated in 2 sessions in September and October of 2007. During the first session, the crew camped on a small island directly across from the site. In the second session, we camped downstream and had the joy of walking to and from the site each morning and each evening. It was the best commute many of us had ever had. Three major arroyos were excavated during the project. These areas were part of a large pueblo that remained buried, and still remains buried and preserved beneath the dunes. The site was complex, with the room showing evidence of remodeling and reuse during the period of occupation. Each site excavated during the project revealed important and exciting discoveries. At Furnace Flat, some of these discoveries included finding a pot under a large stone slab in one of the rooms. And gaming pieces made from pottery and jewelry items that were found in another room at the site. It was exciting to see the masonry, old timbers, and artifacts unearthed and untouched after hundreds of years. Crews were meticulous about recording every aspect of the excavated areas to make certain that we took away all possible information about each site before they were backfilled. Here, a feature is marked with photo targets so that it can be accurately mapped. Architecture was carefully measured and described, as were other archaeological objects. Soil samples were collected to determine where people had gathered materials for making mortars and plasters. Here we see plaster adhering to one of the walls in a structure located in Furnace Flat. Initial studies seem to indicate that the materials came from close by the site, even along the Colorado River. The sites were deeply buried, and an enormous amount of dirt was moved to uncover them. Of course, that also means that there was an enormous amount of dirt to move to backfill the sites when the excavations were finished. Backfilling took place on a very windy day, which just added to our fun. Post-field analysis shows that the sections of Furnace Flat that we excavated on this project date to the Pueblo I and Pueblo II periods, as early as 800 CE and as late as 1150 CE. The crew excavated the Palisades sites in April and May of 2008. If you know anything about the Southwest, or have read reports of archaeological expeditions taking place in the Southwest during that month, or if you are outside at all today, they all have one thing in common: the wind. Sand filled our eyes and noses with sand. Our tents too. It was a dirty job, but an incredibly rewarding one too. That's my tent, by the way. I had to sleep with a t-shirt on my head. From the excavations of the Palisades site, a kiva emerged. Soil samples were collected and studied for traces of pollen in plant and animal remains. That kind of information can tell us about the kinds of food people were eating and where those foods were coming from. Were they growing crops? Were they collecting wild food? Were they living in areas year-round or only seasonally? Such samples are often taken from hearths, places where people cook food, such as this slab-lined hearth seen here. Dirt provides a rich source of information for the archaeologist. One of the more important findings of the project was the discovery of cotton seeds and other plant parts from the excavations at Palisades and a few other sites on the project as well. There had been previous suggestions that cotton was grown in the canyon, but this excavation provides the first really conclusive evidence that cotton was in fact being grown here. The Palisades site dated to the Basket Maker III and early Pueblo II periods. Unlike traditional Puebloan sites where farming is focused on corn agriculture, this site suggested a greater reliance on wild plant food. Archaeologists carefully mapped the location of artifacts as marked by pin flags in this photograph, using a total station to help determine activity areas within an archaeological site. Axe handle alcove showed the most extensive use by humans than any other site on the project. The site was used periodically for thousands of years, beginning in the Middle Archaic period and continuing into the historic period. Wild food resources are available in the area, as are chert cobbles, which provide people with a ready source of stone tool material. Another important find at the site was a 6,500-year-long sequence of Colorado river flows. Within that sequence, scientists recognized 25 flood events. These flood events buried the evidence of human activity in the alcove under layers of river sediment. And you can see in this picture of the dark soils are indications of human or cultural deposits. They're pretty deeply buried. The crew mapped the flood episodes and cultural strata to help develop a detailed cultural chronology for the site. What have we learned from these studies? The analysis continues, but we are refining the picture of prehistoric life in the canyon. We have a better understanding of how people interacted with each other and how they lived in the inner canyon. We are refining pottery studies, learning more about the plants they were able to grow and the kinds of materials they were trading for. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience for many of us. We worked hard as a team. We got a lot of work done. We took our work seriously, but we always remembered to have fun. And finally, why do we care? Archaeological studies illustrate and illuminate the human stories of the past so that they are not forgotten. We hope to connect the past to present-day peoples like Native Americans, to support traditional oral traditions and long-held beliefs for future generations. Thank you.